Hey there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Calfkicksports. In today's episode, we have Oktagon Challenge alumni and pro fighter Jake Mchugh, who fights out of Next Generation Liverpool.
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really good. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. How was it like getting revenge, man? Last month against Arman Herzcag. That must have been quite the feeling.
Yeah, it was unreal. I've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into building myself back up so I could get that victory. So it's like a big relief. All that time well spent. You know what I mean?
I feel like obviously the first fight didn't go your way. It was a submission loss. You're normally the guy that puts everyone in submissions, especially in your amateur career, because I've been following it. But how hard was that? You even said that I'd prefer to have got knocked out.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, exactly. And I said it exactly in the house how I felt after it. Where if I got submitted, I know I did something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Where I shot into the double leg, not very well. So that was quite painful to go through. But it is what it is. You build yourself back up. I knew in my heart that on any other day I'd have beaten him. So yeah, no, it was a bit rough. I would rather have got knocked out than submitted.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Going into that, how nervous were you, or were you kind of a little bit anxious that you might get too emotional going into this fight? Because obviously it is an emotional fight. You've just had a loss, first loss of your career, and it's a guy that was probably kind of talking a little bit before the rematch. How did you deal with all that?
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous. Going into it. I felt like leading up to it. I was feeling the pressure a little bit, but I was able to deal with it and handle it quite well. And then as soon as we were backstage, and as soon as we started warming up, and then as soon as I got in the cage, all that just went away. It was I was really, really calm in there.
Absolutely.
Everyone said to me, "You looked really calm, really patient. You looked relaxed. You looked like you belonged in there." So that was really good to hear from everybody. So yeah, I feel like I dealt with the pressure really, really well. That kind of stuff doesn't really phase me. It's not really anything about what he's saying. It's about the pressure that I put on myself. So I wasn't really bothered about what he was saying, about what anyone else was saying. It was more like I needed to prove to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I followed the whole Oktagon challenge series. I thought it was, honestly, it was brilliant. It was a great watch. I've watched Tough for a number of years, and it kind of fell off in my opinion. I mean, I've even got a guest and a friend who's been on the latest Tough, and it didn't excite me as much for some reason.
Yeah.
But this was really, really top notch. How was it being in the madness of the Oktagon house?
It was an experience. It was interesting. It was a bit intense at times, but yeah, it was really good. It was a really good experience. I've said I've said since being on the show that if I could go back if I had to go back, I'd do everything the exact same. It was a really good experience, and I'm not sure about the show. I haven't even watched the show myself yet, to be honest.
Really?
I just hate the sound of my own voice.
Really?
Yeah, no, I can't stand it.
You get used to it though. You get used to it because when I first started doing this podcast, I was listening to my voice and I was like, "Fucking hell, is that how I sound?" It's disgusting. I don't listen to this, but you get used to it. You're not even like a little bit curious. I mean, you see yourself fight, I'm sure.
I know what happened. I was there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a good show. Like how was it like quite a challenge? Yeah, like staying with a bunch of sweaty grown men, and no one's really cleaning after themselves. I feel bad for the cleaners on that show. Put it that way.
There weren't any cleaners. We were made to clean it all up. It was us and the crew and the film crew. We had to do everything. There was no cleaners.
Jeez. Yeah, I thought there might be some, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. Just clean up. Get into the sport, but you were about to say something.
I started judo at a young age, and then my dad was a fighter out of Next Gen, so he sort of brought me along, and then I started to do jiu-jitsu, and then I took a lot of time off for a couple of years, and then then I started doing jiu-jitsu again, and then I just started to come into all the MMA classes and just started getting my head punched in the mornings with all the pro fighters, and then just built myself up from there.
So I saw a post, yeah, where you actually credit your father as a big influence in your life. How integral has he been to your MMA career? I know you kind of followed in his footsteps.
He's been very integral to the whole process. To be honest, he was the
Yeah.
He was the first person that taught me how to throw a punch. He was the one that brought me to all the jits classes. He was like, without him and without almost like the connections that I got through him, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person who I am today. It's like the lessons that he taught me, and like he was the one who taught me not just how to like do the sport, but how to fight as well. And like that applies really heavily to MMA, where people sort of try and make it into too much of like a sport, a little bit too technical. But yeah, I credit a lot of my success to him.
Awesome. So obviously you train with Paddy Pimblett, as well as Molly as well. What's it like training with them? You know, I'm sure the training sessions must be quite fun.
Yeah, they are very fun, especially when they're in the gym together. They bounce off each other. There's always music on. There's always like a little laugh going on, and being able to train with such high level athletes such as them obviously brings your skill level up through the roof. Being able to ask them questions, being able to like where I can roll with Paddy and then have mad scrambles with him, that'll bring my level up, my skill level up. If that makes sense. So having them there is like sort of priceless. Not a lot of people will get to have such a close relationship with such high level athletes. It's boss.
Definitely. It's that's very solid. What's the biggest kind of positive attribute that Paddy brings to your game, would you feel?
Probably that's a good question. Probably being able to deal with him in the scrambles. So he's a very, very talented grappler. He just does things. He just does things that like you wouldn't think of doing, and he's got no idea himself what he's done. He just does madness. So being able to like roll and grapple and wrestle and scramble with him brings my like skill level up, not just like through learning different techniques, but being able to be in them sort of like high pressure situations with him where I'm having to make really quick decisions, having to try and beat him to the punch, but in sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it showed as well, because you know he fought Tony Ferguson last, and he was doing really well against a really insanely good grappler against in Tony Ferguson. So I was thinking, damn man, Paddy's he's definitely leveled up from the last fight. Yeah. Well, what was the training camp like that for that? That must have been pretty brutal.
Yeah, so they focused, because Tony plays off his back a lot, so they focused a lot of all of the mad thing. Like Tony's one of them. He's a bit like Paddy as well, where he can just pull things out of thin air. Like he's got a very sneaky dart, and he does very like sneaky things on the floor. So being able to like keep up with his constant movements and like shut certain things down. So like if you go and watch the fight, Paddy's got really good. What Paddy does really well is he controls people's hips really well. So he controls Tony's hips really well. He puts him in half guard. He flattens him out. He puts him against the cage, puts Tony's head against the cage and limits his ability to move, so he can't throw up all his different mad submissions. So it was just things like that. So that's how you should approach a camp, is just how to shut your opponent's game down while also implementing the things that you're good at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think people keep forgetting, man. Paddy's a killer, man. Like,
yeah, he is.
You know, he had one iffy fight, and everyone's like, "Nah, man." I'm like, "Well, MMA fan base is so toxic sometimes."
Yeah,
sorry.
Like Jared Gordon is just really, really good at MMA. It's not the, do you know what I mean?
You're fighting in the UFC, man. You know,
exactly.
you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not fighting tin cans and tomatoes. Like, it's you know, it's a big promotion. But yeah, final question for you, Jake. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Definitely Oktagon champion, and I'm just gonna leave it there, because I don't try and like look too far into the future. So that's my goal at the minute. What year is it now? It's 2024. Before 2027, or like in 2027, I'll be the Oktagon champ. Definitely.
Can't wait for it, man. Can't wait for it. But yeah, thank you so much, Jake, man. Thank you for your time. I know you're probably exhausted after training, so thank you for making the time as well. But yeah, like, look, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to give the final word to you, Jake. Where can the folks find you? You know, just plug your Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is you would like to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my Instagram's Jake Mchugh MMA, and that's all I've got going at the minute. Don't have time for that YouTube stuff. Just yet.
Awesome. Not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Jake, man.
Go
Take
on,
care, bro.
Thank
Thanks.
you.